Hey, everybody, this is Kenny. Welcome back to another edition of the Leading from the Middle podcast. This is the podcast for middle managers who want to develop themselves, develop their teams, and improve their results. So, leaders, let me ask you this. Are you really good at humor? Do you take yourself way too seriously? Are you good at improvisation? And let me ask you this. How can this really help you be a better leader if you're really good at humor and improvisation? You got to be able to read the room as well. Well, I got to tell you, I got the gentleman who works with leaders and works with people who want to be faster at thinking on their feet. Wait till you hear the conversation I have here with Izzy Gesell. And Izzy will go into that and so much more. You don't want to miss a second of this. Let's get at it.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
Ready? Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Leading from the Middle podcast. And I have got a gentleman who is going to really talk about leadership from a great perspective today. So prepare to be inspired, but prepare to laugh a little bit as well, which I think is so missing these days from a lot of things, but especially the business world. So this gentleman works with people who want to be faster at thinking on their feet. He wants to talk a lot about how improv and humor can be weaved into not only our business lives, but our daily lives. Izzy Gesell is in the building with me today. Izzy,
Hello.
So great to have you. How are you, sir?
I am good. I've been looking forward to this. Been listening to some of the other podcasts. I know the work that you do, and it's very much aligned with the work that I do, and getting folks to really understand the power of humor and play in a practical sense, not about being silly, but being real.
Yes. And so I want to start here though, because there's got to be something in your backstory that has prompted you to want to do this. Tell us a little bit about what led you to do what you're doing now.
Okay. I started out my professional career as a special education teacher in New York City, where I'm from. Grew up in Brooklyn when rent was affordable. And but teaching really wasn't for me. I was okay at it. I much preferred special education to regular education because I'm not that organized, and it's easier to have 8 or 10 kids in your class than 30. But what I realized also was that I didn't like a lot of superimposed structure. I loved the kids. I didn't like working in a bureaucracy. And I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. So I was actually studying comedy writing in New York, and eventually became a stand-up comic, and was working on that until I would say the mid-90s, when I was teaching comedy writing at UMass Amherst, because comedy is structured. One of the things that people I don't think understand is that it's not just being funny, it's recognizing incongruities and putting things together. So if you think about a comedian, what they're doing is they sort of say, did you ever notice that this happens? And then they put a different perspective on it.
Yes.
And then we go, oh, yeah, that's right. I get it. You know, that idea, that phrase of I get it, indicates that our brain is able to see what it didn't see as truth before.
Yeah.
You know, so I was really fascinated with not only how humor was constructed, because there's a setup. A joke is essentially a story where it has a group of characters who are the people in the joke. A problem, there's always a problem or a dilemma in a joke, like in any good story, and a solution, which is in a joke, it's the punchline, which goes back to the problem. So I'm interested in that, but I became interested in humor as a social topic. And I looked through history. humor's always been around. The fool, the jester, the clown. Just about every culture
Yeah.
has a archetype. The trickster, the fool, the jester, whose role is essentially to tell truth to power.
Yes.
Right. So a comedian today, as it always has been in some level to say truth to power. A couple of days ago, there was the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yes.
Which is this example of truth to power. So I'm interested in that. I became a motivational speaker because into my class at UMass comes business people who didn't want to be comedians, but they wanted to learn about humor. How do I make my life more joyful? How do I attract humor to me? Humor as a comedian is I construct it and I send it to you. You're in the audience. You either laugh or you don't, and that's it. What these folks wanted was, how do I bring this idea into my life without becoming a comedian? And that's where I looked at humor's role in relationships, connection, wellness. I just wrote a post today on LinkedIn about the connection of humor and spirituality. Lighten up, lift in your spirits.
Yes.
Why do angels fly? Why do angels fly? They take themselves lightly. It's like
I have to use that one on Sunday. Thank
please,
you.
yeah, you do.
I got it.
Do that. It's exactly true. So these business folks said, "Hey, come talk to my sales meeting. Come talk to my Rotary, and talk about the importance of humor in the workplace." And I did that, and eventually they said, "Hey, can you do a longer program on stress management? Because humor is such a good stress manager." One of the reasons is that laughter and tension cannot exist in your body at the same time. Picture two people moving a heavy piece of furniture. They're very tense, right? Really tight. One person starts to laugh. You cannot hold tension and laugh at the same time.
Yes. Wow. Wow. You're right. Yeah.
Right. Your belly hurts. Sometimes your bladder goes, I want part of this joke too. So I realized, okay, I have this hour and a half keynote speech. I'm pretty good at that. It combines teaching and performing. Now they want a half a day. They want a full day. So I looked at activities to make it more interesting. And I was taking improv classes at the time. And for me, improv was harder and more stressful than stand-up. People say, why is that? Well, if you think about it, stand-up, you're in control.
Yeah.
It's just you. You're either sink or swim based on the audience. And in improv, you're part of a group. You're essentially a middle manager.
Yeah.
You have to contribute, but you also have to step back. You are beholden to some people, and yet you have to motivate other people. And all of that within the structure of the game, which is the rules. So I began to bring these activities, improv games, into these workshops. I learned how to facilitate. I took professional facilitation courses, which is being able to run meetings, not about time, but about agenda and purpose. And I really found my niche. I'm good at translating these things. I'm good at designing programs. I'm a pretty good stand-up person. And I just found my path.
Wow.
But I stumbled onto it. It was remember in the old days in the cartoons when they'd have the characters going around the country of the world, they'd have these little zigzags from one place to the other.
Of course. Yes.
That's what my life looks like.
Well, that is so awesome. I love it. And so let's dive in now to how this starts to really relate to middle managers and to leaders. And so why should I use humor in leadership? What are some of the benefits, Izzy?
Part of the benefit is that humor connects you to people. Think of the people you laugh with the most in your life. Generally, they're the ones you trust the most. Also, humor helps make you connected to people who may not be connected. So when you and I are laughing together, it doesn't matter what your status is. In fact, if you think about the way organizations are run, if the boss is in the room and makes a joke, people look around to see if other people are laughing. And then if they're laughing, you're going to laugh because if the boss makes something funny, then he or she wants you to laugh.
Yes.
But also the other thing is that when you're with your team, so you're at the middle manager meeting and you're laughing together about the reality of your situation, if the boss comes down the hall and you see her coming in, that laughter stops.
Yes.
Because there's an understanding that we see the world differently
Yes.
than they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that connection, even if you think of the body, when you're laughing, you're going, yeah, your head shaking. Yeah, I get it. I understand. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So as a leader, if you can be both vulnerable, which is a lot of what humor is, you're an imperfect human being. If you're vulnerable, people will be able to approach you. If you're appropriate, in other words, if you know who your targets are when you use humor, and you use that humor to make yourself connected to the people that you work with, or a shared experience. That's the safest way to develop humor, is to look around. What are the people that you work with every day? What are their challenges? What are their issues?
Mm-hmm.
Find a cartoon, find a quote, relate a story of a movie that you saw, and that you get people laughing together. You cement some of the bonds.
Wow.
That's one reason.
That's a great reason. What else? What's another reason? And I have a question. You know what? I'll ask this question now because I do want to come back to that one, and I want to hear
Sure.
more. And this is a little bit of a selfish question, but you mentioned, having maybe the boss in the room at the time, and people will sometimes look if they said something and look around at other people. I do, as part of my job, I don't look at it as a job, as a calling. I do a lot of hospital visits, and I've always used a little bit of humor to lighten people's spirits. Sometimes I'll visit folks that I don't even know, in the hospital. But I one time used a little bit of humor, and the situation with the person's health was more serious than I had known, and so I didn't really read the room right. So what are some hints and tips on reading the room, especially if you've got a bunch of VPs or directors in a room, and it's a serious topic? What are some hints and tips to reading the room?
Well, one basic tip is, don't go in with something that you want to them without reading the room. There's this meme that public speakers and Toastmasters sometimes say, "Oh, you got to start every speech with a joke." So what new speakers do is they say, "Okay, I get this joke, I'll start it, and everybody will laugh." But you have no idea if that joke is relevant to those people there. So walking into your situation in a room, the first step is to make a connection with the people there.
Yes.
And that's why the redundant comedic line is always, "Hello, Boston," yeah, right? They go, hey, how are you doing? I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of that, is to begin to ingratiate yourself with the audience, who says, "Oh, they're happy to be here." When somebody says to you, "I'm happy that I'm here with you," that's okay. This guy's pretty cool. He likes me.
Yeah.
So you walk into that room, and I've had similar experiences. I'm a cancer survivor,
Yes.
and I do programs for survivors and caregivers. And what I learned then, I'd learned in my work, is that you're not laughing at the seriousness of the situation. You're laughing at the human interaction with that situation. So I'm not laughing at cancer. I'm laughing at what happens to you, what happens to life when you are a cancer patient.
Yes.
So with you walking into the hospital, there are one of the homework assignments I would give you is begin to collect general humor that you can use and develop a repertoire. You don't always use it, but you have it. So one of the jokes I can share with you is, it's an old joke, and I use it when I talk about, I was once in a plane, and it was bouncing through a lot of turbulence, and I said, I don't really like to fly. I like my feet on terra firma. The more firma, the less terra. It's like it's an old silly joke. It usually gets a laugh, and if the topic ever came up about flying in or trampolines or aerial stuff, you have that. So one piece of advice is, begin to pay attention to some general jokes that you could use that a lot of people are connected to.
Yes.
Here's another one I'll share with you, which feel to use. People they come up to you. I imagine they do it to you. They go, "Hey, you look good," right? You're looking good. Yeah. So my answer is, there are 3 stages in life. There's youth, adult, and you look good. So I'm in stage 3.
Yeah, so am I.
So the idea is that you're not forcing
Yes.
this humor. You are taking the time to read that's how you read the room. One way.
I love that. Yeah, Izzy, that's fantastic advice that for me personally is going to be helpful, but for the audience, even more importantly, that's extremely, extremely helpful. I want to go back to how this benefits leaders. And one of the things that you say a lot is it really helps leaders manage stress. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about how humor can help leaders manage stress.
In general, humor manages stress, because it releases tension in the body.
Hmm.
So even if you stand in front of a mirror and go for no reason, eventually your body will think, "Hey, he's found something funny, so I'm going to laugh," and that releases the endorphins and tryptamine and so forth. It's very similar to a mindfulness approach or a visualization,
Yes.
where it says, think about optimism, think about your goals, picture yourself being there. You think, when I'm in the dentist chair and they're ready to put that needle in my mouth, I'm thinking of the beach in Cape Cod. I'm thinking of and my body relaxes, because your brain, your memory creates real feelings in your body.
Yes. Yes.
So one thing to do is to recognize that if you have some humor around you that you can look at and laugh, that will distract you from the stressor, because most stress is the feeling of being trapped. You don't know what to do.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
action, you generally take a walk, go to the gym, punch a pillow, yell, scream, cry. All of those are ways to rid the body of that attention. Humor does that. So that's one thing, is have some go-to things, like maybe it's just your breath, but also a picture. Carry your high school picture with you. You want to you think you're so hot, you're so tough, you're so stressed. Look at that picture of you at 17 or something and go. I think that builds empathy, or maybe even younger. Look, I took a class on positive intelligence, and one of the activities was have your baby picture or a picture of you and look at that picture and talk to them and have empathy for that young person. Because they're going through, they don't know what they're going to go through.
Great ideas. Wow.
Yeah, it really is. It
Great
really is.
ideas.
Um, so I would say this, and the other thing for stress is recognize that your self-talk is not necessarily true. So the things you're afraid of, um, the things you assume that other people are thinking or saying about you, even if those things happen to be true, ruminating and keeping it in your head, just because your body believes what you think is real. That's why nightmares are so scary. Those things in the nightmares are not really happening, but our body believes they are. You're
Yeah.
falling. You can't find a way out of the room.
Yeah.
People, those cause real emotional events. So to recognize that we have that power by focusing to disrupt that feeling. It doesn't change the cause of stress, but it changes our relationship to that stress.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And what you're saying is so even more important today than it was 10, 15 years ago. I think because of all the outside things happening in our world and how tense the workplace has changed so much, people are more invested in their job today, I think, than they ever were. And unfortunately, we have workplace violence that happens. Everything that you're saying is so vital for leaders. And I love that you said you'd be a leader and a follower at the same time. I want to ask you about improv. The only thing I know about improv is that show that Wayne Brady was on. That
Whose line is it
oh my
anyway?
gosh, yeah, I that's a half hour of just me nonstop laughing.
Yeah.
And actually, it was off for a while, and I think it's back on now. Um, but what improv skills can someone learn really fast?
Um, I'll show you. Let's play an improv game, you and I, okay?
Okay.
This is a game called One Word at a Time Story. You and I are going to tell a story that's never been told before.
Okay.
And we're going to do this one word at a time. We'll come up with a title. I can tell you from experience, neither of us will know exactly how it's going to end. Neither of us will be able to control the story. So the key really is to recognize that when it's your turn, say whatever comes up.
Okay.
And when it's your turn, I will build on that, and we'll go back and forth. And then we can say period, question mark, exclamation point to indicate the end of a sentence. That can't be our turn. So when it's my turn, I can't always go period. Back to you. In other words, I can't abdicate my responsibility.
Okay.
And at some point, one of us will say the end, and the story will be over. So why don't we tell the story of the magic bottle? Okay.
Okay.
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Yeah, you could go. You could go first. Yeah.
Once
There
was
a
bottle
that
could
help
anyone
flies
so
move
it
faster.
period. When
The
bottle
is
used
it
allows
flies
to
move
in
and
opposite
I'm stuck now. This is great though. What's that? Opposite end
delivery. Period. The end.
That is so much fun.
Okay, so yes. What? How does it work? What was fun about it?
Because you had to. I was trying to think of something funny. I was trying to
Well,
think of something
yeah,
that wouldn't be normal. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You don't have to think of something funny.
Yes.
You can't think of something funny. When you're trying to think of something funny, you're not present with me.
Yes.
You're not in the game.
Yes. There you go.
You're either in the past or the future. So one lesson is that the way the way I teach people to think quicker on their feet is to stop thinking and act
I was
quicker.
thinking too much. Yes. Yeah.
All you had to do is say a word. I'm your teammate. Whatever word you say, once you say a word, you're done. Then it's my turn, and it's your turn, and then my turn. We get off track. Eventually, we'd get back on track.
Yeah.
And then, so for managers, I go, you play this game, and then you point out that sometimes we get off track because we both have different perceptions of what the project is, or what my responsibility is, or I want to be a contributor.
Yeah.
So I'm not really listening to you. I'm thinking about my turn.
That's exactly what I was doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So this is a listening activity.
Yeah.
Now, the beauty of this is when you and I play, we can talk about this. Neither of us really feels blamed. But if we were doing this for the real project, and I'm saying to you, you weren't listening, you'd be defensive, probably. I want to explain to you what I was doing. I was trying to help. I was doing this and that. Doesn't matter why. The action is you were gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all I needed you to do was give me a word, listen to my word, give me a word, listen to my word. Be here now.
I love it. Oh, I love it. And that I'm just picturing that happening in the middle of a day where it's a tough day. I'm running a restaurant, and we just had a really tough rush. We've been shorthanded, and the leader just starts the game like that. And you think about, as you said before, all of the stress that just leaves because you can't have those same emotions at the same time. I love that. That is great. I love that. So now I can do some improv. I'm going to use that as well.
Well, yeah, that's a pretty good game. And notice we played for a minute and a half with an activity that has no real world consequences,
right?
And yet we talked about real world stuff.
Yes, yeah.
That's the beauty. That's the magic of this.
Yes,
is that there's something about adults, when we play, that we reveal our true self. So we're willing to be honest about how we played,
Yeah.
more so than we are willing to be honest about what we do in life. Why'd you
Yeah.
do that? And then we have our logical reason.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Makes so much sense. I have a couple of other questions for you. This has been amazing. What are 4 ways that we use humor in life?
There are purposes to humor, as I alluded to. So one of the purposes is we use humor as a shield. That's self-deprecating humor. We'll say something about ourselves,
On ourselves.
so that when other people who are thinking it say it, it's not as hurtful.
Yes.
So you actually put yourself down because you're feeling that if somebody else does it, it hurts.
Yes.
So there's the shield aspect to it. The second way humor is used is as a weapon. So if you think of things like sarcasm, if you think about the isms humor, the phobic humor, the xenophobic, homophobic, it's always about think of the phrase you use, with sarcasm. I stuck it to him. I put him down. I left him speechless. I had the last word. All of those are victory statements.
Mm.
So, and then until recently, in the workplace and in society, people could say, "Oh, I was just kidding. I'm not responsible for what your feelings. I was just kidding."
Yeah.
But I am responsible, because just because when I said just kidding does not mean I did not mean what I said.
Yes. Yes.
So and sometimes it's innocent. You say something like, "Oh, yeah, that's an old shirt." No, I just bought this. Oh no, I was just kidding. But
Right.
in my mind, I did think it was an old shirt.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's if you look what's going on in society in general, all the discussions about what's allowed with humor and what's not, it's a very slippery kind of discussion, because people have different reactions to different humor because of what you connect to, what you relate to. So
Yes.
that's 2. 3 is the bridge, the positiveness. You and I laugh together, the connector.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
think about the power of laughter in a group is much more evident than its power up by ourselves. We're sitting alone, we're watching. You're in a room, or you're in a theater, you're in a movie house, and that laughter cascades.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Because I think laughter or emotions in general fills the space between people,
Mm.
and it builds.
Yes.
So that's the bridge, is the third one. And the fourth one is the spotlight. Humor has this ability to change our focus. So if you're uncomfortable with something, nervous laughter comes out. That's tension being released. But also, if there's a topic, let's say cancer, and people are not comfortable with cancer, somebody in the room may make a joke about something completely different, just to break the ice, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah.
Or the opposite of that is the spotlight is somebody who's an egoist or who wants attention will constantly throw out little jokes,
Yeah.
because every time they do that, they're going to draw the attention, even if it's by people who tell them to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the 4 functions.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Here's my last question on this, and then certainly I want to leave time where folks can contact you, because we want folks to do that, no doubt. How does this now tie in? You talk about this really helps, and this is a big deal these days with mental health and wellness. And so, what's a couple of ways that you've seen this really help with people's mental health and their wellness?
The first is to recognize and be courageous enough to recognize that the laughter and humor is a temporary decompression. So prepare yourself. Make a list of the movies on your streaming that are funny. Go to your souvenirs and mementos. That stuff you have in boxes you haven't seen for years. Nobody's going to see them until after you pass away. Then your relatives are going to put them out on a table in a driveway and they'll say $1 on it. But you can look at it, and the memory is powerful. 15 seconds, you look at a souvenir, and you go, oh yeah, I remember the meal. I remember the time. This is why when you look at a photograph of someone you love, the love you feel is real.
Yes.
So prepare yourself, and then also recognize that your self-talk is challenge your self-talk. You can't predict the future. The past is gone. What's in your ability to do right now?
Mm-hmm.
And surround yourself or be around people that you enjoy their company and they enjoy yours.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So important, right? Wow. Wow. Izzy, this has been amazing. And, tying it back in, I was telling you before we came on that I always try to use humor, whether I'm talking, doing a sermon on a Sunday morning or, whether I'm talking to leaders, I always have felt like everyone likes a good laugh and it does so much. And I love that you are taking that and making it a lot more practical for leaders and more intentional for them to use. So keep doing what you're doing. This is amazing, amazing work. And
Thank you.
yeah, I think it is so, so needed these days. But how can people get in touch with you, Izzy?
I think the two easiest ways, my website is izzyg.com, IZZYG.com. I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Izzy Gesell, Gesell. I have 3 courses on LinkedIn Learning. If
Okay.
people are interested, one is on humor in the workplace, where we go over the 4 levels and others. Another is about improv for leaders,
Yeah.
or leading with, and a third is how to build a team.
Yeah.
So those two, LinkedIn or the website.
Okay.
Love to hear from people. I have a handout I'm willing for free about how to recall and retell any joke you ever hear.
Okay.
I'll send that to you, and I'll send that
Please. Yeah.
to everybody,
Yeah.
whoever contacts me in
Yeah.
any of those places.
Yeah.
And this has been great. I can't. The time has the time flies when you're having a good time, right?
It really does, and
Yeah.
I had a great time, but so much powerful information too.
Thank you.
Man, I thank you so much, and
My
again,
pleasure. My pleasure.
yeah, again, bless everything that you're doing, man. Absolutely. So we're gonna leave it there, folks, and I'll share all of Izzy's information in the show notes, and so look out for that. But for now, this has been the Leading from the Middle podcast with Kenny and with Izzy, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Bye bye.